You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
You're listening to Straight to the Extra Point, your Niagara source for all news, draft coverage, free agency, weekly game analysis, game day betting picks, and fantasy football updates regarding the National Football League. Here's your hosts, Brandon Caputo and Miklos McMaster.
Hello once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another installment of Straight to the Extra Point right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Your October 17th, 2020 edition. Your source of North American sports coverage by sports fans for sports fans. Delivered to you right here in the beautiful Niagara region. Find us on social media for updates, giveaways, and sponsorship promo codes each month by following the podcast on Twitter at ArmchairGMPod, liking us on Facebook and Instagram as well by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. Listen to us on our main platform, which is Spreaker.com, and the free Spreaker app by searching the Armchair GMs. As well, check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Deezer by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. And lastly, our beautiful user-friendly website, armchairgmsports.com, for all things regarding our network, including articles, podcast episodes, sponsors, and contributors. Everything's on there for you guys. Whatever platform you're using right now, please give us a like and subscribe. Give us some love. And as always, I'm one of your hosts of Straight to the Extra Point. My name is Cappy. You can follow me on Twitter at Caputs13 with the Canadian Z. And I'm always very pleased to be joined on the NFL portion of the network by my co-host and good friend Miklos McMaster, former OUA athlete for the Waterloo Warriors. You can follow him on Twitter at Miklos_McMaster. Miklos, thanks so much for taking the time to come back and talk some football again. 1 week hiatus, but we're back.
Coach, I'm so excited to be back. Yeah, we got the schedule sorted out, and I'm so fired up to talk football. Absolutely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, last week, unfortunately, just due to scheduling purposes, we weren't able to get a show going here, but with Miklos' schedule, we were able to fit in this Saturday, which looks like going forward might be a common occurrence here on the Saturday, getting you ready for Sunday NFL football kickoff. So I'm okay with that Saturday show. Get you fired up. It's the weekend, day before football starts, so I'm good with that. But with that being said, Miklos, just what have been your thoughts on, I haven't been able to talk to you about fantasy much this year, but for you fantasy lovers out there, I'm sure it's been tough with all these rescheduled games. Miklos, how have you been doing in fantasy football this year?
Oh, man, it's been quite the roller coaster. I mean, especially with the games being canceled due to COVID, and I've been using Yahoo mainly this year for fantasy, and even the fantasy website, they don't know until it's officially canceled, right? So it's oh, should I not start this guy? Should I drop somebody and pick someone else up? So you got to be watching that waiver wire pretty close, because you're going to pick someone up, someone ends up on a bye week, and then all of a sudden they got 2 bye weeks back to back. And I had AJ Brown, and then he was injured, and then he was back, but then COVID, and it's oh man, it's not someone I want to drop, but then I'm holding this guy on my bench who isn't playing, and I need guys because teams aren't playing. It's been pretty wild.
Yeah, and some leagues don't have a COVID-19 spot to move their players to, so you essentially have a guy just sitting there on a dead roster spot. And then there's the whole thing of, if the guy plays, do you have a contingency where you have another guy ready to go in place of the person who was going to be starting for you? If he does not play, do you take the points from the other guy, or do you risk going with the guy who was supposed to play? Or even we had a situation in my league where a guy literally had 5 starters for whatever reason on the Patriots and Broncos game that was canceled. So he had to drop 3 or 4 guys off his roster just to field a team of backup guys that were playing on, the Monday game. So it was a mess, and waiver claims, the commissioners, have to kind of intervene there and say, they kind of have to use their own discretion for that. But it's hard. It's been a very hard fantasy football season, unlike a lot that I think any of us have ever played in, and it's unpredictable. It's kind of going to be a battle of attrition. Who's going to be able to survive? Not it's bad to say, but what teams don't have to shut down their facilities or miss more games because of COVID? It seems like whatever team is going to get lucky with that, it's going to transition over to the fantasy football, and those owners who haven't had to deal with a lot of those issues are going to be the ones that are coming out on top this year.
Yeah, and I mean, just transitioning that to real football, it's also been crazy with what's been happening in the actual games, like Tennessee having to shut it down, and like Pittsburgh shutting it down, and then Pittsburgh's playing, I think it's 13 weeks straight now if things stay the way they are, and that is going to be a grind and a half to have to play that many games in a row without a break, and then hopefully you're in a position where you can get some kind of break for the playoffs. But I mean, with the new wildcard team, there's only going to be one team that's getting the bye, so man, the battle for the top seed in each conference is going to be fierce.
Absolutely. So, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break on the show, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to get our top takeaways, new segment that we're doing here. Instead of recapping every single game, we're going to get Miklos' 10 takeaways from the last couple of weeks since we missed last week. So stay here, and we'll be back to talk about the hard-hitting topics from Week 5 as well as Week 4. So stay right here. We'll be right back on Straight to the Extra Point and right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, serving traditional-style Italian pizzas made with the freshest, top-quality ingredients. Loaded subs and their famous chicken wings. Winners of the Reader's Choice Diamond Award, 4 years running from Niagara this week for Best Pizza and Wings in Niagara Falls. Home of the best tray and wing combo in town for the price and quality. Open daily from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., located on the corner of Drummond Road and Dunn Street. Available for call-ahead pickup or delivery at 905-374-4400. Make sure to like them on Facebook and view their website for their menu at carminespizzeria.ca. Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano. Way too good. As we all adjust to this new world that we're living in today, masks are now mandatory, and Niagara's own Custom PPE is Canada's leading face mask provider. Visit them online at customppe.ca and choose between several mask options with different colors and sizes. Add your organization, company, or team logo so you make your face masks unique. Available to purchase online 24/7 at customppe.ca and shipped within 1 week. They have the best prices and quickest turnaround in Canada, and no order is too big or too small. Also offering custom floor stickers as well as face and counter shields for your business or workplace. Visit customppe.ca and use the code ARMCHAIR at checkout for 20% off your custom or blank face mask today. Custom PPE, Canada's leading face mask provider. Attention job seekers, if you are currently looking for work in the Niagara region, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thoroldstone Road, Niagara Falls, directly across from the Camisos Plaza. Their free services include resume and cover letter writing, community resource and referral information, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, second career information and registration assistance, and all their services are currently provided by appointment only. So give them a call at 905-358-0021 or visit their website at ehc.on.ca, the Niagara Employment Help Center. This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network, the Niagara region's best local source for North American sports podcasting coverage. By sports fans, for sports fans.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second segment of our Straight to the Extra Point. Cappy and Miklos back with you here. Talk more about the Shield. As you say, Miklos, it's all about that Shield, baby.
Yes, sir. The NFL is all about the Shield. And they're still making it happen this year, even in the crazy times we're living in 2020.
Absolutely. Jerry World is up and running, but that's a discussion for a whole other day. We could talk about Jerry Jones for hours upon end, and I'm sure that'll be in one of your takeaways from the last couple of weeks here. We're going to get Miklos' 10 takeaways from the last couple of weeks in the NFL. This segment today is brought to you by Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, home of the best pizza and wing combos in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Call today 905-374-4400 and carmine'spizzeria.ca. This month's promo code is Armchair Mushroom for 10% off your entire order when you call for call ahead pickup or delivery. Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, way too good. Miklos, take it away.
So these are in no particular order of importance, but just in the last 2 weeks, I mean, we mentioned COVID in the opening, and that's where I'm going to start with my number 10 takeaway. I mean, we saw some crazy stuff with games getting rescheduled and games getting canceled and changed and all kinds of stuff, but we've also seen how well the NFL has been, one, handling this situation, and two, the things that they've put in place to track players. I mean, the Patriots have had several players test positive, and they were able to quarantine specific players and even temporarily shut down their facility, but they still played their games, which I think bodes well for continuing the season, that we can hopefully, and that's really just speaking from my medical experience, the goal for all of society is that you just target the individual positive people, quarantine them, and let the rest of the world keep on trucking. But that being said, it shows how important it is to be ready on a week-by-week basis for anything that can happen. Tennessee, unexpectedly getting 2-week break and then coming back and just smacking the Bills. But it shows not only how ready you have to be every week to just play whoever, but that every year we talk about how important wins are in the NFL. And this year, more than ever, getting those wins, especially when you don't know if or who you're going to play on a week-to-week basis, is so important. So that's number 10. I don't know if you have anything to add there.
No, you basically said it. Said enough there. I'm good.
All right, so number 9. Speaking of things changing week to week, and we mentioned Jerry World, Dak Prescott, just absolutely devastating injury. I feel so much for that guy, and just his whole family and everything that's happened. I mean, he's been struggling to get that long-term contract, and through 4 weeks, I think he was on pace for like 6,700 yards, just been playing out of his mind. And I mean, really with no help if you look at what the defense has been giving him there and the games that they've lost. So just a devastating loss for the Dallas Cowboys. But now the contingency plan, the Red Rifle and Andy Dalton in a new place, getting that starting job again, and he's got all the weapons on that Dallas Cowboys roster. So let's see what Andy Dalton can bring to the Cowboys the rest of this season, and maybe they're not done, you know?
I have a pretty strong opinion about this. I think Andy Dalton's the best quarterback in the division still, with Dak Prescott out. I mean, you look at what Carson Wentz has done this year and what he hasn't done. He's looked pretty brutal. He just doesn't seem like the same quarterback that was so electric a few years ago. And then whatever quarterback Washington decides to throw out there, or Daniel Jones at this point, I would say Andy Dalton is the best quarterback in that division right now. So I'm still confident that the Cowboys can take this division. Obviously, missing Dak Prescott is going to hurt, and on that end, I mean, I just feel so terrible for Dak Prescott. The guy has proved year in and year out that he is the guy in Dallas. Still hasn't gotten his money. I know that Jerry Jones offered him that contract and he did not take it, wanting to bet on himself that he was worth the price that he was asking. And now, you know what? I mean, sometimes it works out, and in this case, the franchise tag worked out for the team in that regard, because when you put the franchise tag on somebody, you're essentially, betting against them to not be able to play up to the level that they think that they're capable of. So, unfortunately for Dak Prescott, another contract year. Who knows if he's going to get franchise tagged again, or he's probably not going to get anywhere near the contract that, was originally offered to him, or the contract that he and his agent feel that he has earned over these last few years. So, it's really just a sad situation, and you really feel bad for Dak in that spot, because you felt that he should have been taken care of already and had long-term stability, in case something like this were to happen.
Yeah, and I'm getting just real shades of Kirk Cousins on Washington with this situation. So I do think there's probably an outside chance, but there's a chance that this is the last time that we've seen Dak Prescott in a Dallas Cowboys jersey.
That would be very upsetting, but we'll have to see how it progresses and how he's able to come back, because that's not going to be an easy injury to come back from, as you know, as a medical professional.
Yeah. So moving on to number 8. Number 8, how about them Cleveland Browns? I've got to say, color me surprised. It's been talk about a 4-1 team that no one is talking about. They had that brutal loss to kick off the season, and everyone was like, same old Browns losing to the Ravens. But they have quietly put together some pretty impressive victories over the last couple of weeks, and their offense is looking pretty scary. They're getting OBJ the ball now and doing lots of creative things. Wide receivers throwing touchdown passes to each other. And that defense is really starting to gel. So my number 8 takeaway is, how about them Browns?
It's almost like we don't want to get too high on the Browns because of what they did to us last year, where everybody thought they were going to be amazing and they ended up being a complete dumpster fire. It seems like Kevin Stefanski has really, been able to turn that offense into what we had envisioned it being last year with all of the talent that they have on the roster. They lost Nick Chubb, but it seems like Kareem Hunt just goes in there and they haven't really lost a step. Baker Mayfield, he's still off and on, but he's getting the job done and he's spreading it around to his very talented receiving core there with Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, and Austin Hooper as well. So quietly, the Cleveland Browns have kind of turned this thing around, and maybe people will start to change their perspective on them. But you know what? I mean, every time we get our hopes up with the Browns, they end up just, breaking our hearts. So maybe everybody's just cautiously optimistic right now about the Browns' record.
For sure, and let's not forget D'Ernest Johnson, that rookie running back who stepped in as well. He's been looking very nice for them. So, moving on to number 7. Number 7, let's talk about some coaching staffs and some front offices here. We had some axes fall recently. We had your Atlanta Falcons blow it all up and clean house. We also had the Houston Texans blow it up and send Bill O'Brien on his way. And I think both those situations were long overdue, and I think both hugely positive moves. I think Bill O'Brien, we've talked about him so much over the past weeks and even last season. I mean, this guy has done everything to get fired. Like, if you had a recipe of how to get fired from your job, just follow what you would do, what he did. Just, like, breaking down the roster so that even Deshaun Watson's miracle magic could not even pull away victories for them. Bill O'Brien definitely needed to go. And for Houston Texans fans out there, I hope this year's draft they finally start giving Deshaun Watson the help and the team that he deserves and needs. And as for your Falcons, it's very obvious that they needed a change of leadership, and I don't know if it's a change of culture necessarily, but they definitely needed a change there. And I know you were very happy that they cleaned house.
I'm going to try to say this in the shortest terms possible. First, with Bill O'Brien, I mean, that was, like you mentioned, long overdue. I mean, you trade DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson, which David Johnson has been effective for the Houston Texans, but you can't make that trade if you're the Houston Texans. And considering them winning 3 of the last 4 division titles, you still are pretty low on what Bill O'Brien has done as a GM and as a head coach. There was rumors that he and J.J. Watt got into an argument at practice, which was basically the final straw in that. So I think Bill O'Brien, you know what, I don't know if I would have given him all the power in the world to be the GM and the head coach. That might have been one of the problems over there, but I think that was a good move for Houston. Romeo Crennel coming in, I mean, we all know what he is as a coordinator, what he's not as a head coach, but as an interim head coach, he's going to go in there and try to do his job with, still has a talented roster, like you mentioned. Hopefully Deshaun Watson can take that next step now with hopefully going to be putting some pieces around him with who the new GM and head coach are going to be in that situation. As for the Atlanta Falcons, long overdue. Tired of being the team that was known as blowing huge leads, not being held accountable, very undisciplined, lacking, fundamentals. I mean, what happened in that Dallas Cowboys game was inexcusable. That right there should have lost Dan Quinn his job for not just having his players know the fundamentals of football. That's like grassroots stuff. It's pretty incredible that an NFL team was that dumb in that regard, and then to do it 2 straight weeks, to blow it against Dallas and Chicago, and then to come out and not have any urgency against a rebuilding Carolina Panthers team within your division. It was just time. An 0-5 start. And Dan Quinn, he's a great guy. I love what he has done. Thank you for bringing us to a Super Bowl. But at this point, the time was done. His time was up, and they needed to get somebody else in there who is going to be more of a football fundamentals coach. He just was not getting it done. He brought in the whole brotherhood culture, which was great, but I think as a defensive coordinator, he was great, but in a head coaching role, he was kind of over his head and kind of living off that one run to the Super Bowl thanks to Kyle Shanahan's offense. So I was, sad to see Dan Quinn go, but it was time and very warranted for us Falcons fans to show that Arthur Blank was willing to make a change and knows that this was unacceptable for such a team that had such high hopes and has so much talent that, unlike the New York Jets, should not be 0-5 on the season. So very well warranted, and Thomas Dimitroff was just time to go after 12 years of being the GM of this team and going through many changes on the personnel side of the side. He was just kind of the last man standing there. So thank you, Thomas Dimitroff and Dan Quinn, for your services. But time for a new era of Falcons football, and for the rest of the season, Raheem Morris is going to be taking over as the head coach, former head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Dirk Cutter staying on as the OC, another former Tampa Bay Buccaneer head coach. So I guess the former Bucs are leading the charge here in Atlanta for the rest of the year. But with that being said, short and sweet version of that, Miklos, I'm happy, and hopefully they can kind of show something the second half of the season. And 0-5 start, that's going to be tough sledding, so we'll see where they fall. But definitely looks like they're on pace for a top 5 draft pick, which I'm okay with.
Yes, sir. And speaking, you mentioned the Jets in there. That's moving on to number 6. The Jets sent Le'Veon Bell walking. Unbelievable. Not even a trade, and he ends up on the Kansas City Chiefs, which, oh my God. I will get to the Kansas City Chiefs because I'm going to talk about their game against the Raiders that just happened. But what a situation for Le'Veon Bell. I mean, walks away for free, ends up in probably the absolute best case scenario that he could want. But back to the New York Jets. The Jets are an absolute disaster, and it's amazing that they also didn't join in with the Houston Texans and Atlanta Falcons and fire everybody. I am amazed that Adam Gase still has a job. It's unbelievable. That team is not even competitive on Sundays. It is brutal to watch. They clearly need to just start all over from scratch. And I'm going to credit Rich Eisen for mentioning this first, but I do think it's a good idea, as he said, to trade Sam Darnold now. I think Sam Darnold needs a change of scenery. There's nothing good that can happen for him in New York right now, and I don't think his value is ever going to be higher than now. So for a future GM's sake, get him some draft capital for Sam Darnold. You're going 0-16. You might as well just blow it all up, get Trevor Lawrence, and start completely from scratch.
I think the only reason that Adam Gase still has a job is that the Jets think that he is their meal ticket to getting Trevor Lawrence at number 1 overall. That's got to be the only thing that I can think of as to why he still has a job. He's blown up that entire team of all of its, positivity as far as playmakers on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. You look at, the roster that he was taking over when he came in as the head coach and what it is now. It's just a complete dumpster fire. The Le'Veon Bell situation was obviously mismanaged, and it just seems like a very dysfunctional franchise right now, and I feel bad for the Jets fans out there, but it doesn't seem like it's going to get any better for this season. So hopefully the light at the end of the tunnel is getting Trevor Lawrence at number 1 overall, though the Atlanta Falcons are really giving them a run for their money. But with Dan Quinn out of there, I don't think that they're going to be, there with the Jets too much longer for last place. So I would assume that Adam Gase still has a job, which, again, he's got to be, the best ventriloquist in the league as far as making people believe that he's a very good head coach. So we see what players do when they get off of Adam Gase's system. Hopefully Le'Veon Bell's going to be that, and the Kansas City Chiefs, I think we're going to mention them a little bit later, but just stacked on all aspects of the offensive side of the ball. But Adam Gase and the Jets, complete tire fire.
We are going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs later, but moving on from the opposite of a tire fire, my number 5 takeaway, look at what happens when you have good coaches. We talk about Washington football team. Dumpster fire. They bring in Ron Rivera, and I know they haven't had the most positive of season, but you can tell immediately the culture change that's happened there. But the two teams I want to talk about is the Miami Dolphins and the Carolina Panthers. And Brian Flores and Matt Rule have clearly changed those teams the way they've come in there. The Carolina Panthers definitely rebuilding, but as unfortunately for your Atlanta Falcons learned, they're a dangerous team. And I mentioned at the beginning of the year that they are not a pushover, even though they're a rebuilding team. And the Miami Dolphins laid the absolute smackdown on the admittedly depleted, but former Super Bowl runners-up San Francisco 49ers. And the Dolphins are looking like a pretty scary team over there in the AFC East. They're putting it together, and the Fitz magic is flowing.
Yeah, I mean, good for the Dolphins. I mean, everybody knew that they were, they were more optimistic about them going into the season than the Jets over there in the AFC East. But I think with Brian Flores, like you mentioned, he's really bringing a positive environment to that team. You even look at what they did last year. Everybody thought they were going to be an 0-16 or 1-15 team, and they ended up not doing too bad. So for a team that's continuing to build up up the standings, I think the Dolphins are doing a good job at that. They just need to get some more skill on the offensive side of the ball, I think, and probably both ends of the football. Let's be real here. But with what he's had to work with, I think Brian Flores is doing a very good job. And like you mentioned, going into San Fran and laying a whooping on that defense, although, like you mentioned, a very depleted defense. But, yeah, there's been some very good coaching stories so far this year. And can we just quickly mention John Gruden for the Las Vegas Raiders, taking down the Kansas City Chiefs in their 12-game winning streak. I'm sure you were fired up about that.
Yes, sir, and we're going to have to hold our water there because that is a takeaway that I'm still getting to.
Okay.
I'm saving it.
All right, before you get to your next takeaway, let's give another shout-out here to Custom PPE, Canada's leading face mask provider. Best prices and quickest turnaround in Canada, built from right here in the Niagara region. Order today at customppe.ca. Use the code ARMCHAIR at checkout for 20% off your entire order. Again, customppe.ca.
Okay, number 4 and number 3 are both matchups that happened this past week that I want to talk about. Number 4 being the Bears and Bucks. And the Bears, some way, somehow, keep pulling it together and pulling out wins. And they were a problem for Tampa Bay in that game. And Tampa Bay, I think I'm starting to get to the point where I'm getting a little concerned about how they're looking this season. That was a game that I don't think people expected them to drop, and as we mentioned earlier in the show, wins are tough to come by in this league, and you can't afford to be dropping multiple games like this and expect to go far in the playoffs.
Yeah, it does not look good for TB12 down there in Tampa Bay right now. They definitely, we knew it was going to take time with that brand new offense and team for Tom Brady and with all his new skill pieces. But you would think that the Bears, and to me, I'm still not convinced on the Bears. I don't think they're a great 4-1 team. I think they've been very lucky in certain games. Nick Foles has gone in there though and done a pretty decent job. Obviously, Mitch Trubisky was not doing a good job. So the Bears are 4-1. I'm still not high on them like I am the Packers in their division. But with the way that the Vikings have played this year, I mean, the Bears might be able to capitalize on that, and the way the Lions and Matt Patricia, they were a complete dumpster fire as well. So good for the Bears. I'm not completely sold on them yet, but on the other end of the spectrum, it's luckily the NFC South has got off to a pretty bad start this year, so Tampa Bay is still in a 3-way tie for the division lead at 3-2, and they haven't really hit their stride yet, so maybe that's a positive to take away from it. But yeah, definitely still some growing pains and not a finished product there in Tampa.
For sure. And flipping on to number 3, a team that is looking very finished, the Tennessee Titans against the Buffalo Bills. I did not expect the whooping to be laid on the Buffalo Bills the way the Titans did, and I think this just shows how dangerous the Titans are and that they're really hitting their stride this year. Buffalo Bills have been on fire to start the season and been looking really good. Josh Allen was dealing, but my God, did they look overmatched in that game? And I think the epitome of that was when Derrick Henry tossed Josh Norman like he was a child with that unbelievable stiff arm early on in the game.
Oh, absolutely. That was, that broke the internet. It went viral for sure. There was a lot of memes and things like that going on with the Josh Norman. But yeah, the Tennessee Titans, they look like a team that as a benchmark at this point. If you want to be able to be a contender in the AFC, you have to beat the Tennessee Titans, and they just look very solid. Mike Vrabel's doing a very good job with that defense, although despite them being having some injuries on the secondary, Derrick Henry doing what he does, and Ryan Tannehill getting the job done. He's right up there with Patrick Mahomes if you look at the stats. I mean, over the last year or so, he's been very solid for the Tennessee Titans, very underrated, and their receiving cores, stepping up with guys like Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, while A.J. Brown's been out. So you got to give the Tennessee Titans a lot of credit, and despite missing it seemed like half of their roster against the Buffalo Bills due to the COVID situation, they still went out there and beat up a very good Buffalo Bills team who a lot of people are high on to come out of the AFC this year. So for me, the Tennessee Titans got to be up there with the Ravens and Chiefs as far as the teams that are looking real nice in the AFC right now. And I picked the Titans to win the AFC South, so I'm pretty fired up about that. So they're continuing on and building off the momentum that they had in the playoffs last year, and it just goes to show that a playoff run like that and give you all the confidence in the world to go into the next season and show that this is your division to win.
Yeah, and I think I will admit I've been very skeptical of Ryan Tannehill and did not expect much from them this year because I've seen a lot of Tannehill's past, but he has really stepped up dealing to his receiving core, and with A.J. Brown back healthy, especially as you mentioned, Corey Davis and Adam Humphries really stepping up. It's they're looking like a scary offense, especially whenever they can just pound the rock with Derrick Henry whenever they need to, but now they showed they can throw the ball too. So then moving on to number two, the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers are the class of the NFC and possibly the NFL. I mean, watching them week in, week out, I know Seattle had a bit of a test this week against Minnesota, which was surprising, but they came out and won that game, which is what good teams do. They don't ask how. All that matters is that check in the win column, and both of these teams are looking like they are going to be the NFC Championship matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you were high on the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, obviously, going into this season with the whole Jordan Love being drafted in the first round situation, so I know you said that we would have to look out for Aaron Rodgers this year, and on the other side, I mean, Russell Wilson's got to be him and Aaron Rodgers got to be 1-2 for MVP. No, I mean, the way that the Seattle Seahawks have done and the way that they have just been beating these teams, I mean, that huge comeback last week against Minnesota, although Minnesota could have had a chance to close that game out and decided to, go for it on fourth down and not get it. So, but you got to give the Seahawks credit. They're 5-0 right now in a very tough NFC West division that we had been raving about going into the season, about all four teams being very solid, and up to this point, all four teams at least have 2 wins in this division. So, to me, the Seahawks are the team to beat right now in this division, and probably in the entire NFC at this point. Them versus Green Bay, what a showdown that would be. Two of the premier teams in the NFC right now, but you got to give them a lot of credit. They definitely look like the teams to beat over there right now in the NFC conference.
Absolutely. And moving on to my number one takeaway from the week.
Oh, here it is.
We all knew it was coming, and you did mention coaching, and my God, I have not been this happy as a Raiders fan in a very long time. And that game, I feel, was just an indication of how well John Gruden has been coaching this year, and also an indication of the previous games I mentioned before. The losses against the Patriots and the Bills are completely different games if we don't turn the ball over. And I know Derek Carr threw an early interception against the Chiefs, but this offense that we've got going this year has got the legs to stick with anyone, and we showed it by throwing haymakers with Nelson Aguilar, who apparently is a premier wide receiver now that he's in the silver and black. My God, deep threat. And then Henry Ruggs just showing that we also have a cheetah in the silver and black, and we're hitting back with the deep balls. What an awesome game. And then doing exactly what you should do at the end of the game. Our offensive line is massive, and we just slammed Josh Jacobs down their throat. Their offense on the Chiefs side looked tired, trying to keep up, and their defense just got ground down into the ground. It was a masterclass of a game, and what a time to get a win against the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead now that they've picked up Le'Veon Bell, and that offense, if it was even possible, got even more scary.
Yeah, but the 12-game winning streak for the Chiefs has now been snapped by division rival Las Vegas Raiders. Miklos, I know you got to be happy, and with the way that they came out, like you mentioned, and put a performance on like that, I think it's kind of changing the perception of what this Raiders team is. I think that was like a defining win for this team, showing that they are to be taken seriously. I mean, they just took down the Super Bowl champion, so obviously Darren Waller, it's kind of been off and on for whatever reason the last couple of weeks, but that offense looks real nice. Nelson Aguilar I guess he learned how to catch the ball when he went to Las Vegas, because that guy notorious for dropping balls. But it seemed like the addition to Henry Ruggs just brought another dimension to that offense, Miklos, if I do say so myself. And obviously the offense runs through Josh Jacobs and his running game, and if Derek Carr is just able to make the plays needed and not turn the ball over, manage a game like he's supposed to, this team has a chance to make some noise here in the AFC.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big differences in our wins have been not requiring the same person to make plays for us. I mean, Darren Waller has been comparatively quiet the last couple of weeks, but that's been okay. We've been hitting Nelson Aguilar on some big plays, even though he didn't maybe contribute as much in other games. And then Josh Jacobs just being consistent. But Devontae Booker had a great game against the Chiefs with some huge runs early in the game whenever the big plays were coming hot and heavy. And I shout out to Gunther and the defense. I mean, this defense has been a defense that I've been very skeptical of, but I think Nick Kwiatkowski coming back and being the play caller, which he was always supposed to be, was a huge impact to get the team organized and get all those young players in the positions they needed to be. And we managed to create some pressure on Mahomes there, which was huge. It was the thing that I was knocking the team on every week about the lack of pressure on the quarterback was going to kill us. And this defense is coming along nicely. I still think they have a ways to go, but the young guys are showing that they can hang.
It's unfortunate. Too bad you didn't have Darryl Worley and Eli Apple in the secondary. I'm sure you'd be a lot happier. If you listen to the show for a long time, Miklos not high whatsoever on Darryl Worley and Eli Apple. Luckily, neither of them are on the Oakland Raiders. Sorry, they're the Oakland Raiders to me. I don't care. Just like the San Diego Chargers, it's always going to be that to me. So wherever the Raiders play now, neither of them are on the roster. So that's good for Miklos and very good for the Vegas Raiders, and showing the Chiefs that kind of get off their high horse a little bit. They are vulnerable, and now they're 3-4-1, and the Raiders are one game behind for the lead in the AFC West, so it's going to be very interesting to see coming down to the wire there. Obviously, the Broncos and Chargers are not looking good, so Raiders and Chiefs battling it out for the AFC West title. But with that said, Miklos, is that it for your takeaways?
Yes, sir. That was number one.
All right. Well, of course it was number one, but I'll give you that. You deserved it last week, so I'm okay with you making that the number one takeaway, because it was a pretty big deal, not just for us, but in the entire NFL. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our last commercial break on the show today, and we're going to come back and get our week... What is this now? Week 6? Yeah, Week 6 betting picks. We haven't done this in a few weeks, so I'm really fired up to get going with this once again. Stay here, and we'll be right back here on Straight to the Extra Point, and right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network.
J&L Flooring is a Niagara-based specialty flooring and design company. They take great pride in providing elite customer service and support. They are a specialty flooring and decor boutique shop with a beautiful showroom, great pricing, and a wide variety and truly unique selection of products. All their products are environmentally friendly and responsibly produced, so you can feel great about your flooring choices. Their goal as a local business is to build authentic relationships based on honesty and integrity that they foster with respect and authenticity, offering unique and wide range of quality products presented by a knowledgeable and patient team. They connect with their customers to simplify the process to make their life easier and to make their homes beautiful. Visit them at 4424 Montrose Road, Niagara Falls, or find out more at jnlflooring.com. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. 905-358-3299 J&L Flooring. The Spicy Olive Bar and Grill is located on the top of Clifton Hill and just a 5-minute walk from the majestic Niagara Falls. It is conveniently nestled in the heart of the tourist district. A family-owned and operated business, the Spicy Olive opened its doors in May of 2003 and has since been established as an authentic and unique Italian restaurant and bar. Its rustic ambiance and time-worn finishing provide a warm and inviting dining experience. Offering an array of delicious dishes, they specialize in authentic Italian cuisine, homemade sauces, fresh ingredients, and consistently providing a strong foundation on which they build their menu. As night falls, the Spicy Olive shifts to a lively lounge where drinks and live music come together to make a perfect evening. For more than 15 years, they have provided not only for their dedicated locals, but their customers from all over the world with authentic Italian food and great live entertainment. Open daily 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. for dinner and till 2 a.m. for drinks. Check out their new menu and book reservations on their website at Spicy Olive Bar and Grill, it's with an E at the end, .com, or call 905-371-2323 for reservations as well. The Spicy Olive Bar and Grill.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network, the Niagara region's best local source for North American sports podcasting coverage. By sports fans, for sports fans.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final segment of our Straight to the Extra Point episode. Cappy Miklos back with you here. And Miklos, we are going to get into the Week 6 betting picks. I'm fired up to get back into this. Again, we've had a week hiatus here, so we're a bit rusty, but I'm really looking forward to this. This segment brought to you by J&L Flooring, a Niagara-based specialty flooring and design company. Simplified processes of making homes beautiful are their specialties. 905-358-3299 or jandlflooring.com to start today. So we've got, starting off hot here, Miklos, we don't know Thursday game, although we're recording this on Saturday, so we would have missed the Thursday game anyway. It was the Tuesday game between the Bills and Titans, so that's why there was no Thursday night game. It got pushed. So starting off here on 1 o'clock on Sunday, two teams that have been very, I guess, surprising in a good way this year. The Chicago Bears and the Carolina Panthers, both, I think, overachieving from what they were expected to do this season. Carolina favored by 1.5 at home, surprisingly, against the 4-1 Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and I do think that their performances the last couple of weeks are a good reason for that. With that being said, I am going to I've learned since the beginning to not pick against the Bears based on what they're doing. I think the Bears are going to come away with a win. I think their defense has been really rock solid, and is going to give the Panthers' new offense a bit of a problem. And I think because of that, and it's been what the Bears' MO has been for, it feels like, decades. A defense that shuts you down, and then an offense that gets enough chances and gets it done. And Nick Foles, now under center, throwing the rock out there for them. I do think the Bears are going to come away with this game. So I'm taking the Bears, and 44.5 is a pretty low score. I do think some points are going to be scored here, so I'm going to take the over as well.
Okay, I'm with the Bears as well for everything you just mentioned, and if they're going to be a contender in this division, they have to come away with the win against the Panthers. I know the Panthers have looked good so far, but they were supposed to be the rebuilding team within the NFC South. So if you're the Bears and you really want to contend, I think you need to beat a team like the Panthers. So I'm with the Bears at plus 1.5. I don't really understand why they're underdogs in this game. So I'm all day on the Bears here, as much as, I'm not really high on them right now, but you know what? They're 4-1, so I got to give them some credit where credit's due. Bears, plus 1.5. I'm on the under. Miklos, same thing, but he is on the over. Next game, Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Indianapolis. Colts favored by 8 points at home. You got the Colts to cover, or you on the Who Dey Nation to keep it close?
I'm going to stick with Who Dey Nation. I know they got pretty badly embarrassed last week against the Ravens, and I think that's just a combination of good offense and a defense that really took advantage of an undermanned and new Bengals offense. But that being said, Phillip Rivers turned the ball over a lot, and their offense has not looked great in Indianapolis, all things considered. So I think to say they're going to win by 8 is quite a bit, and I'm looking at a bounce-back game from Joe Burrow and these Bengals to keep it close. So I'm going to take Cincinnati to cover. I don't think they'll come away with a win because I do think Indianapolis is just better, but I do think they'll cover. I'm going to take the under here because I don't trust either of these offenses to put up a lot of points.
Okay, so you're on the Bengals and the under. Like you mentioned, that game against the Ravens, I think they're going to learn a lot from that. I really do. I think that was basically the benchmark of where they need to get to be back, obviously leading the division, as the Ravens are basically the team to beat now in the AFC North division. So I think the Bengals will learn a lot from that, the growing pains of a young team in Joe Burrow. I think that was a good learning experience for them. And like you mentioned, I think they're going to come out this week and have a lot better of a result. So, and for me, I don't know if you can ever pick the Colts and the Chargers. For me, I guess it's the Phillip Rivers effect. Can never pick them to win by whatever the spread's going to be. So to say the Colts, the way that they've been playing, are going to win by over a touchdown, I'm not buying it right now. I think they do win, but they might win by maybe 4 or 5. I think 8 is a little rich, even more than a touchdown at this point. So I'm with you. I'm saying the Bengals keep it close with the spread at being 8. I think that's kind of outrageous. And I'm going with the over on this game, so because I do think that there will be some points scored in this game, and that Colts defense has not looked as good as we thought it was going to coming into this season. So I'm with you on the Bengals at +8. I'm on the over. You are on the under. Next, we got, and this definitely deserves a sound clip for this one. Detroit Lions traveling to Jacksonville to play the Jags. The Lions favored by 3 points. A disaster dumpster fire going on with Matt Patricia over there. I don't know how the Lions can be favored. I guess it's because they're playing the Jags, but Miklos, short and sweet. Neither of us really want to talk about this game, so Lions -3 at the Jags.
Yeah, I'm taking the Lions. I think the Jaguars started off hot, but I think they've regressed to the mean. They are who we thought they were, to borrow a famous NFL quote. I do think the Lions just are going to get it done here in Jacksonville and come away with a win. That said, Minshew can provide some Minshew magic out there, so I am going to take the over because I do think there's going to be quite a few points scored in a game that will probably not be as entertaining as the score indicates. Yeah,
I'm with you. I don't think there's going to be a lot of defense in this game, so I'm with you on the over. And, oh man, I'm going to reluctantly go with the Lions as much as I don't want to, just for the fact that I don't like them at all, but they did beat the Cardinals a few weeks ago, and the Jags have looked atrocious. So I'm with you reluctantly on the Lions at -3, not confident whatsoever in that pick, and we're both on the over as well. Next, we got the talk about two probably the most disappointing teams in the NFL this year. Two teams that had high expectations of making the playoffs, and two teams that have a combined 1 win between the two of them. Somebody's got to win the game here, Miklos. Atlanta Falcons, Minnesota Vikings. Vikings favored by 4 points at home. Which team's finally going to get it turned around?
Yeah, and I think Minnesota, just because they're showing against Seattle, is getting the favorite here. But I'm saying, based on what happened the past couple of weeks, the Atlanta Falcons are getting a fire lit under them. This is the wake-up call. Everyone's been put on notice because everyone's been fired. And I'm saying they get it done this week and get their first win of the season. I got high confidence in Atlanta with Raheem Morris out there turning things around for them and turning it up this week. And Minnesota, I have no confidence in whatsoever. I do think it's going to be pretty high scoring because both these offenses can really get it going whenever they want to. But I'm going to take your Atlanta Falcons to get their first win of the season here.
I think if Dan Quinn was still the head coach, I'd be smashing Minnesota all day at this -4. But I think the Falcons have something to prove here, and they're going to come out and show that they, still have talent on this roster and show why everybody thought that they were going to be a 9 to 10 win team this year, which they're not going to be now. But they really need to come out here with a good effort and not fall to 0-6 and still be tied and in the same category as the New York Jets. It's a complete embarrassment. So for me, although I was high on the Vikings as well. These are two teams that have disappointed me heavily. I'm going with the Falcons here to at least cover the 4 points, and I think they will outright win the game, so we'll have to see how that works out. And I'm sorry, did you say you were on the over or the under for this?
Over.
Over? Yeah, for sure. I mean, Atlanta's defense can't stop anybody, and Minnesota's secondary has shown that they can be very nice for fantasy football owners playing against their defense. So I'm with the Falcons at +4. Actually, we're both on the Falcons +4 and both on the over. Next, another game that deserves a sound clip. Big Titan-like battle here between the Washington football team and the New York Giants over there in the NFC East, and whatever team comes away with the victory here, Miklos, is still in the running for the NFC East division title, which is just mind-boggling how horrendous this division has been the last couple of years. It's pretty embarrassing. Giants favored by 3 points at home. What are you thinking?
Based on what I saw to both teams last week, I really like what the Giants showed. They easily could have come away with a win against Dallas there. And so I think the Giants are going to pull this off. I definitely think they're going to come away with a win. Both teams have shown that scoring is not their forte, though, so I am going to take the under.
It's not their Matt Forte. Bad pun there. But I'm going with the Washington football team. The Giants have not shown me any reason to pick them at all this year. Their offense is depleted, missing Saquon Barkley. For me, whatever quarterback the Washington football team decides to throw out there and what Ron Rivera is doing with that team, very positive. To me, I think Washington keeps it close, and I think they outright win the game. So I'm going with Washington at +3, and I'm going with the... oh, man. Do you think this might be the lowest scoring game of the week, or do you think that the defenses might not be able to stop these, even though these offenses don't look great?
I'm getting a very strong 6-3 vibe from this game.
I'm going to say 10-9 final, and I'm going in favor of the Washington football team. +3, we're both on the smashing the under, though, and Miklos is on the Giants at -3, and probably the game of the week over there at 1 o'clock. Next, we got the Baltimore Ravens and a bird battle traveling to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Ravens favored by 9.5 at home. Shout out to Eagles fans who are going to make the trip for that game. Don't know why you'd want to make the trip to possibly put yourself at risk of getting COVID and to watch your team get absolutely waxed by the Baltimore Ravens. Miklos, I'm starting this one off hot. Ravens were favored by 20. I'd still take them. I'm smashing the Ravens at -9.5.
Yeah, I 100% am taking the Ravens. I think based on what the Eagles are putting out week in and week out, they are, to borrow your phrase, going to get absolutely waxed by Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
They had a guy named Fulgham be their lead receiver for the Eagles. It's just, until they can get healthy, you don't know what you're going to get from them week in and week out. Miles Sanders had a nice run last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They still came away with the loss there, so I don't know how anybody could pick the Eagles right now to even keep close against anybody that's not named the Giants or the Washington football team. So for me, I'm taking the Ravens at -9.5. Miklos is the same. I'm going with the over as well, because I think the Ravens are going to probably put up 45 on their own.
Yeah, I'm also taking the over.
Perfect. So we're both in agreement on that one. Moving on here, Niagara Employment Help Center is helping job seekers find work with their free services and counseling professionals. 6100 Thoroldstone Road, Niagara Falls, across from the Camisos Plaza. Book your appointment today, 905-358-0021 or ehc.on.ca. We've got an NFC North Division battle here against... between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both teams off to a good start here. Obviously, the Browns, a very solid 4-1 start. The Steelers have had a couple of hiccups here and there, but that division, besides the Bengals, is looking real nice this year. So it looks like this is going to be a very solid battle here. Steelers favored by 3.5 at home against the Browns. You going with the dog pound, or you going with the terrible towels?
So I know I have been praising the Browns so much throughout this show, but there's something to be said about in-divisional games. We've seen the effect that the Patriots have had on the AFC East, just with the aura of always being dominant, and I do think the Browns are fighting that in the AFC North, of the aura of not being able to win, and we saw their one loss was getting absolutely demolished by the Baltimore Ravens. I do think they're going to have a strong showing here, but I do think the Steelers have also looked incredibly good in their game so far. So I do think Pittsburgh is going to win this game, and I'm going to take the over because I do think the Browns are going to put up a real solid fight.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. Unfortunately for me, I have the Steelers' defense in both my fantasy football leagues, so not looking forward to seeing their point total at the end of the week. But I think this is going to be a very exciting game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but For me, I'm with you on here on the Steelers. I think they're going to come away with the victory here, and the Browns have been off to a good start, but I think they're going to run a little bit of a hiccup here with their division rivals in the Steelers. So both on the Steelers at -3.5 and the over. Moving on to the Houston Texans, the new look Houston Texans, the end of the Bill O'Brien era, and they're traveling to Tennessee to play the very good Tennessee Titans team that we have discussed throughout this show. Titans favored by only 3.5. Surprisingly, I feel like that spread should be a lot higher for the Titans, but maybe a divisional game has changed that. Titans 3.5 at home. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I do think the spread is just more of a credit to how good Deshaun Watson is, and that the new look Houston Texans can turn things around. But I do think the Tennessee Titans are just going to bulldoze the Texans here. So I'm definitely taking Tennessee, and I'm going to take the over because Deshaun Watson can always put points up.
Okay, I'm with you. I don't know how the spread is not higher for the Titans. If it was 7, I still would have taken the Titans. So I'm taking the Titans at -3.5, and you're on the over. I'm going to go the under because I do think Tennessee's defense has proved that it can stop some pretty good quarterbacks. So I'm with the Titans. We're both on the Titans. You're on the over. I'm on the under. Moving on to the last 1 o'clock game. A lot of 1 o'clock games this week. We have the rescheduled game, the game 2 weeks in the making. It was so good. The depleted Denver Broncos traveling to New England to play the New England Patriots. New England favored by 9 points at home. Do you expect them to cover against Denver Broncos team that has injuries all over underneath the sun? It seems like this year.
Yeah, I definitely think that New England is just going to smack the Denver Broncos. The Denver, I think. I had such high hopes for them this year, but has been obliterated by injuries. I think they really just need to take a mulligan on this season and start looking to next year and see what they got out of their young guys with the remainder of this year. I'm definitely going to take New England with the 9, and I'm going to take the under because I don't think Denver's going to be able to put up any points on this Patriots defense. We see Patrick Mahomes struggle putting up points against the New England Patriots. I know the Denver Broncos are going to be struggling against this Bill Belichick run defense.
We're on agreement once again. Patriots -9 and the under. Next, we got this game. New York Jets. They are still considered a football team, ladies and gentlemen, in the NFL. They are traveling to play Miami, divisional rival, the Adam Gase Bowl here. One team that hired Adam Gase and decided to fire him for a good reason, and another team that decided to hire him after seeing what kind of a dumpster fire he was within that division. So Miami Dolphins have now turned a new leaf with Brian Flores. They're favored by 9 points at home. How many points do you think the Dolphins win by? Do you think that they cover the 9?
Honestly, if this spread was 47.5, I'd still take the Dolphins, especially after they put up 42 on San Francisco last week. They're probably going to put up 87 on the Jets this week. I'm definitely smashing the Dolphins, but I know the Jets aren't going to score any points, and I'm not going to put all my money in on them scoring 50 alone for the Dolphins, so I'm going to take the under.
Do you think there's any way possible the Jets can keep this game close?
0 chance.
All right, I'm on the under as well. Fitzmagic's going to sling it, but I don't know if the Jets are going to hold up their end of the bargain by putting up any points. So it might be like a 41-0 victory, in which case that would be under. So both on the Dolphins at -9 and both on the under. Next, we got the last. This might be where we have some a little bit of a difference here. We have the Green Bay Packers traveling to Tampa, only favored by 1 point. Surprisingly, the undefeated Green Bay Packers only favored by 1 point against the Buccaneers, who have not looked great. Are you thinking that Green Bay is going to win by multiple points here?
Oh, absolutely. I'm amazed that the spread isn't higher, especially with the way Aaron Rodgers has been dealing. I know Tampa Bay's got a good defense and Tom Brady and everybody on offense, but I am absolutely taking the Packers here, and I'm going to take the over because I think this also is going to be a pretty high-scoring game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very exciting game at 4:25. I guess this is America's Game of the Week on Fox. We'll have to see. But I'm with the over as well. And, I mean, it's 1 point, so I have to go with Green Bay. I mean, I can't believe that, they're only favored by 1 point in this game. I wanted to take Tampa Bay, but the fact that they're only 1 point dogs, I don't know. If it would have been like +7 for Green Bay, it might have enticed me to take the Buccaneers here. But at -1, like I just can't not go with the Packers here. It just seems like basically a sucker's bet to go against them at this point. So I'm with you here, Packers -1 and on the over. Last shout out here to Spicy Olive Bar and Grill, family owned and operated since 2003, serving authentic and unique Italian style food just off the historic Clifton Hill in Niagara Falls. This month's promo code is Armchair Reveal, 10% off your order when you call in or when you dine in. Tell your server they're open right now on Fridays and Saturdays, 905-371-2323 or spicyolivebarandgrill.com. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday night. Traveling to Buffalo to play the Buffalo Bills. This should be a very nice game, although there's a lot going wrong for the Bills right now with the shortened week, and Kansas City coming off their first loss in 12 games to your Oakland Raiders. Miklos, I'm smashing the Chiefs all day on this, just given those two factors, and the spread is -4.5.
Coach, you overlooked the Sunday night game, I think.
Oh, well, we can go over that last.
Okay. So, yeah, in this Kansas City game, I think based on how Buffalo looked against Tennessee, and I think Kansas City is going to be looking to get over that surprising loss to my Las Vegas Raiders, I'm definitely taking Kansas City in this game. I don't think the Bills will be able to hang. I do think that the Bills, as they have shown, can put up points, though, so I'm going to take the over here.
I think it's going to be a very exciting game. I just think given the fact that the Bills are on a short week, coming off that loss, and the Chiefs, I mean, coming off of, I would say, a disappointing loss to them, winning 12 straight games, losing to the Raiders, they're going to be out for revenge here on Monday night prime time. I just think the Chiefs are going to, win this game by at least 10. So give me the Chiefs at -4.5. I'm with the over, though. Both this game should be very exciting with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, both probably the two best gunslingers in all of the NFL, being able to throw the ball down the field. Should be a very exciting game there at 5 o'clock. Don't know why it's not, they haven't changed this around and put this other Monday night game at 5 o'clock, because I feel like the Chiefs-Bills game is going to be a lot better watchability. But we got the Dallas Cowboys without Dak Prescott welcoming the Arizona Cardinals. The Andy Dalton era for this year for the Dallas Cowboys has started. Arizona favored by 1 point on the road.
Yeah, and I have a lot of faith in Andy Dalton, and I think that having a leader go down like that for a team is a good rallying moment for a team to come back and fight for that player and that leader, and I think that's what the Dallas Cowboys are going to do this week. I think they're going to rally and win this one for Dak, and so I'm going to take Dallas here. I know Arizona has showed a lot of exciting things, and Dallas's defense has just been an embarrassment. But I think Andy Dalton's going to deal, and with the weapons he has, they're going to get the job done. I am going to take the over, though, because, as I mentioned, the Cowboys can't stop anybody.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an over as well, although we're finally going to have a difference of opinion here. I'm going with the Cardinals. They haven't looked great the last couple of weeks. Very disappointing for them, but I think with what the Cowboys are going to be putting on the field on Sunday, and without Dak Prescott, I'm confident that the Arizona Cardinals can get back on track here. I'm with the Cardinals at -1 here, 1 point favorites. You're on the Cowboys at +1, so it's essentially a pick 'em at this point, so should be a decent game, but I think the Chiefs-Bills should be the primetime game in that spot. So I'm going to stick with that. And I easily looked over the Sunday night game because it doesn't look that great considering how the 49ers have looked lately with all their injuries. The Rams have looked good. It's an NFC West divisional game, so it should hopefully be a good game on Sunday night. Rams favored by 3 points on the road. What do you like?
I am smashing the Rams here, especially after the Dolphins just buried the 49ers last week. I'm definitely taking the Rams here, especially with only by 3 points. I'm going to take the under because I don't think San Francisco is going to be able to score against this Rams defense that has been quietly very, very good this year. And so if there's only one team dealing out the points, I think 52 is a bit rich, so I'm going to take the Rams in the under.
To me, this is smelling like a 31-10 kind of game for the Rams. Just like they're just going to take advantage of the defensive injuries for San Francisco, and it's just going to be one of those kind of, once they take a couple of touchdown lead, it's kind of going to be over from that point. So I think the Rams are going to win this game as well, and I'm on the under with you as well. So that's it for the picks for Week 6 here, Miklos. What probably the game of the week for you this week? What game are you looking forward to the most?
On the Sunday, I think Cleveland-Pittsburgh is a game that I am really looking forward to. And then obviously Chiefs-Bills, I think, is probably going to be the game of the week.
Yep, couldn't have said it any better myself. So, with that being said, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Again, sorry for the week hiatus as we get things figured out here, and hopefully transitioning over to video at some point later this season so you guys can see our beautiful faces discuss the NFL with a beautiful layout on the YouTube side of it. But with that being said, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Straight to the Extra Point, our Week 5 takeaways and Week 6 betting odds and spreads right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. And this has been your October 17th, 2020 edition right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network and Straight to the Extra Point. As always, I'm one of your hosts of this show, Cappy. You can follow me on Twitter at Capootz13 with Canadian Z. As well, you can follow my co-host Miklos at Miklos_McMaster, former OUA athlete for the Waterloo Warriors. Miklos, thanks a lot for taking time out of your busy day as a medical professional to come on and talk some more Shield.
My pleasure, Coach. Can't wait to see these games tomorrow.
Yep, absolutely. We'll see you guys next week. Big thank you to all of our great sponsors who help put us on Sport the Network, keeping the show on the air. Make sure you're checking them out and telling them that the Armchair GM sent you. It's very important to support your local businesses during this time. Make sure you're using those promo codes as well. And finally, to you viewers out there for tuning in and listening along with us for this episode. And once again, this is Straight to the Extra Point on the Armchair GM Sports Network by sports fans for sports fans. Enjoy Week 6. See you guys next week.